The Bible, it is the most read book in history. Translated into thousands and ten thousands of languages, its instructions, if taken and applied in life, has the power to transform and produce upright men and women who will be able to be models in the society. Critics, however, say that it is full of contradictions and therefore cannot be trusted. Hence, we ask the question, does the Bible really contradict itself? Welcome to Watchman Bible Research Center, where we do expositions in the scriptures. I invite you to take a journey with me to find the answers to this question. In our last episode, we did an introduction to this topic and defined what a contradiction is and what a contradiction is not. In today's episode, we are going to look into some texts and see whether they contradict or whether critics do not exegete them properly using sound hermeneutics. My name is Pastor Val, and welcome. The first and foremost topic that we're going, or scriptures that we're going to deal with, is the scriptures that come from the very words of Jesus, talking about 3 days and 3 nights. Did Jesus stay in the tomb for 3 days and 3 nights? Allow me to take you to a text in the book of Matthew, chapter 12, and verse 38, that says, Then certain of the scribes and the Pharisees answered, saying, Master, we would see a sign from you. And how did Jesus respond? He said this in verse 39. But he answered and said unto them, An evil and adulterous generation seeketh after a sign, and there shall be no sign given to it but the sign of the prophet Jonas. For as Jonas was 3 days and 3 nights in the whale's belly, so shall the Son of Man be 3 days and 3 nights in the heart of the earth. Now, Jesus employs a typology. Jonah's duration in the belly versus his duration under the earth. If the typology fails, then the Bible will be false. So before we go any further, let's look at another text on the same subject and compare. The Bible says this in the book of Matthew, chapter 16 and verse 21. From that time forth began Jesus to show unto his disciples how that he must go into Jerusalem and suffer many things, and of the elders and chief priests and scribes, and be killed and be raised again on the third day. Now you will notice that Jesus uses 3 days and 3 nights and the third day for the same event. What does that imply? Is it an apparent contradiction? And if it is, then could it be that critics who use that as a contradiction do not understand the Bible language that Jesus employs? Now, to that effect, we are going to ask two questions. Question number one, did Jesus really meet the typology? And the second question says, was it really 3 days and 3 nights? Or does 3 days and 3 nights mean literal 72 hours? Now we'll begin with question number one. Did Jesus really meet the typology? And my answer is, he certainly did. And in future, we will talk about typology in the Bible. That's reserved for future discussion. Now let us go to question number two. What does the phrase for 3 days and 3 nights mean? Does it mean literal 72 hours? We'll look into that. So I will give you several cases and I want us to walk together through these texts. So the first case is the case of Esther in Persia. And allow us to go to the book of Esther, chapter 4, verse 16. The Bible says this. These are instructions that Esther gave to Mordecai when Mordecai sent a message to Esther. Go, gather together all the Jews that are present in Shushan and fast for me, and neither eat nor drink 3 days, night or day. I also and my maidens will fast likewise, and so will I go in unto the king, which is not according to the law. And if I perish, I perish. So Esther said in the verse that we have just read that she would fast for 3 days, night and day. Now let us see what happened. Esther chapter 5 verse 1 says this. And it came to pass on the third day that Esther put on her royal apparel and stood in the inner court of the king's house, over against the king's house, and the king sat upon his royal throne in the royal house, over against the gate of the house. So we see Esther commanded Mordecai and the Jews to fast for 3 days and 3 nights. But Esther went to the king on the third day, according to Esther chapter 5, verse 1. So that is case 1. Let us take case 2, which is the story of Rehoboam. The Bible says in 2nd Chronicles chapter 10, verse 5, and he said unto them, that is Rehoboam responding to messengers who were sent to him. And he said unto them, come again unto me after 3 days. And the people departed. That is chapter 10, verse 5. Allow me to read verse 12. So Jeroboam and all the people came to Rehoboam on the third day, as the king bade, saying, come again to me on the third day. So the instructions that came from from Rehoboam was that they were to go after 3 days. But we see in verse 12 of the same chapter that the people who were told to come after 3 days came on the third day. And in fact, the Bible says that that is how Rehoboam had commanded them. Now, clearly, after 3 days means on the third day. Furthermore, since they came on the third day from the day Rehoboam commanded, it follows that the expression after 3 days does not mean literal 72 hours. This resolves the apparent contradiction in the expression after 3 days, in 3 days, and on the third day. Now, the emerging question is, how do we arrive at the third day from today according to Jesus? Now, Jesus himself will explain that. Gladly, we are not left to guess, for Jesus resolves this issue for us. How does he do that? Luke chapter 13 and verse 31. The Bible says this. The same day there came unto Jesus, the same day there came certain of the Pharisees, saying unto him, get thee and depart hence, for Herod will kill thee. So how did Jesus respond? Verse 32, Luke chapter 13. And he said unto them, go ye and tell that fox, behold, I cast out devils, and do cures today and tomorrow, and the third day I shall be perfected. So what did Jesus mean when he said that he healed and cast devils today, tomorrow, and the third day? This is what he meant. I must cure today and tomorrow and the day following. Hence, from today, the third day is the day after tomorrow. For example, today is on Saturday here. So, according to Jesus, the third day would mean the day after tomorrow, that is on Monday. Now, you will note that it is also important to note that according to the Jews, when counting days, a day must not be 24 hours to be counted, but even parts of a day are relevant, i.e., few hours suffice to be counted as a day. As far as time is concerned, Jesus fulfilled the typology, for he stayed in the tomb on some hours of Friday, Saturday, and part of Sunday, then he resurrected. So the scriptures are clear. that Jesus fulfilled the typology. 3 days and 3 nights, equivalent to the third day. So the typology is clear and there is no contradiction in those texts. Thank you, and I pray that we meet again when we discuss another text concerning what critics call apparent or what critics call contradictions. For us, they are not contradictions, but it's failure to apply the correct principles of interpreting the scriptures. I want to invite you again to the next episode where we're going to discuss another text in the scriptures. Thank you and welcome again.